So before I get into the housing stuff, which I really want to get into, I just wanted to acknowledge that the city of Salinas has received a letter from the Franciscan workers. They are no longer able to financially support the health center where the bathrooms and showers are, thus the hours have been decreased. So the city is working hard, and we're talking with the county about how to address this. The challenge for us is that it's the 28th and our fiscal year runs July 1 through June 30. And so we don't really have money right now, and we don't have the cash money in yet. That's going to support the work down here in Chinatown. You all know that you're welcome to use the city municipal buildings during the days for the restrooms. Nights are really what I'm concerned about, should the center close. We don't have any indication yet that it will, but I just know that fiscal years go from July 1 to 6/30. So that's sort of, yeah, it's, you know, we want to see what we can do for a solution for that. So that's what I know about the bathrooms and showers. So I don't know, are there any questions or comments, or you serve the back?
Yeah, with that said and everything, that kind of hurts people that are around here because in the evening, where are they supposed to go? If the city buildings and everything are closed and everything, and there's no restrooms available, where do they go? What do they do? I mean, I don't have a big problem because I'm staying down here at the Victory Mission, but the ones that are out here in the tents, where are they going to go? What are they going to do? And a lot of times and everything, this health center, even with the new hours that they have right now and everything, those new hours doesn't necessarily mean that the staff are going to be there. And then like the other day, when they closed down for fumigation, now I was told by somebody over here in Dorothy, the way it was supposed to work and everything was like when they fumigate that, then the health center is open. Or vice versa. If the health center is being fumigated, then the Dorothy is supposed to be open. But that wasn't the case the other day.
Okay.
They shut them both down at the same time for the whole day.
Okay.
And nobody had anywhere to go.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. Thank you for telling me that. As far as the evenings, we're asking the same question, is where are people going to use the restrooms in the evenings? Yeah.
They're creating the problem and everything else where people are getting tickets for defecating and everything else, when that shouldn't even be the case. They should have accessibility to somewhere so they can use the restroom.
Okay, I wasn't aware people were getting tickets for defecating. Officer Carvey, can you comment on that?
That hasn't happened, but absolutely feel your concerns. That hasn't happened, but that's definitely a concern, and it's definitely a concern of mine. As Tina knows, I about lost my mind the other day learning about the restroom situation. We can't have it. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And we're working as hard as we can to figure out what we're going to do about that. It's not that.
So I know this is a haul for some of you, but I have noticed that the Sherwood bathrooms are open more. So.
I understand that they're not going to allow use of the dark on July 8th.
Somehow I think we should get last week when we're doing that.
Well, I mean, we're really awaiting answers, and yesterday there was an emergency meeting among the heads of the city and county to figure out what to do about this, so.
Your concerns are definitely being heard.
Yes.
And we're the ones that are pounding on the pulpit trying to get this done, so.
Is any of the money that's given to Dorothy's for running the health center given by the city?
The city, I believe, leases that to Dorothy's either at no cost or low cost. I couldn't say exactly. And that has been the contribution my understanding over the years. I do not believe the city is actually giving them funds to run the center. Sir?
I have one question to raise and everything. I'm signed up with independent living. And I was told by Joe Rivera within 4 months and everything that I'd be housed, and it's been more than 4 months. My one big question is if the agency and everything involved, or agencies involved in everything, are going around telling people that and everything when they know different, and they know that it's going to take longer, why are they going around telling people, you know, oh, we'll get you into a place and everything when they know it might be a lot longer than what they're saying?
Yes, well, I can't speak for them, but I can only speak for myself in that the folks that I'm assisting with the Moongate and Jackie, hopefully you guys are putting out the same thing, proceed cautiously optimistic, okay? All you can do is put in a solid application, work to make sure it's accurate. You'll be lucky if you get called on the lottery, then you'll have to go through a much more stringent application. The good news is that Mid-Penn did build in some policies. They've got mitigation policies around bad credit and landlord reference and stuff like that. So they are doing something to reach across the aisle for folks. So, but again, proceed only cautiously optimistic. No, it's like luck, you know. So, is now a good time to talk about housing in general? Okay. So one of the things that we're thinking about and we have to think about, because not everyone is going to get into Moongate, and there currently really are only affordable housing choice right now. I've been working with a team of different people, including Officer Carvey, and we're trying to figure out other housing type options down here. For those of you that met with us last week and did the housing choice vote, we appreciate that. Something that's still being really talked about and looked at very seriously is the sprung shelter concept that I've talked about before. For those of you who haven't been to the meeting and heard about it, it's essentially an aluminum architectural frame, and it's wrapped in a weatherproof membrane, and there's the option of having semi-private living conditions inside it, locked storage, and we'll have the opportunity to talk about low barrier access and rules. I'm definitely willing to sit down with folks. We want this to be workable. This would be a place, if this goes through, you can come back if you're drunk or you're high, as long as you don't start shit with your neighbor, you're fine. So that's the approach that we want to take. Again, we don't have the money in for this yet. And we have to bring this to the wider community down here to see if this would be utilized or not. So I'd be interested to hear any of your thoughts.
Where would that be located?
We're not sure yet. Maybe one of these vacant parcels that the city owns, possibly the health center parking lot, because it's already paved and fenced. So.
Yes. Can you give us a list of what disqualifies you for housing so we can try to correct some of those things?
I actually have the resident selection criteria for this building, and I know it fairly well, so I could answer some questions after I have to go. But did you put an application in? I can talk to you next week about it. Yes, sir.
I have a suggestion. I don't know how well the suggestion would go over, but as one suggestion and everything, you know, like down here at the end and everything, there's a couple buildings that aren't even being used. That would be, I mean, all you have to do would be go in and clean them up a little bit and everything else. Well, this one down here, you gotta do more than just clean them.
Yeah,
But
Yeah, I
they can
appreciate-
utilize, but they can utilize those and everything as a temporary shelter.
I
Yeah,
do-
They won't work because they're cost prohibitive on how much it costs to redo them because of the updates and regulations about earthquake preparedness and all these things. Those are not options.
let me say this though, the city is in an active process of evaluating the plots down here. And we've gotten preliminary approval to start some soil testing on one of the plots that are owned. So also the city put together a very large brownfield grant application to redevelop down here, and we heard back last week, unfortunately, we weren't approved. So that was discouraging.
¿No hay preguntas en español? ¿No hay nada de inglés?
See, dime.
Oh, yo no
I'll
entiendo
try.
nada, pero me interesa la plática. No entiendo nada de lo que están diciendo, pero sí me interesa.
I did, I'll go right now, please.
Okay, just if they can just have any Spanish speaker.
So you're talking about this is gonna be affordable living budget? Does that mean no income shut down?
So anyone who qualifies for that building and gets a unit in the lottery, it'll be 30% of your income.
Are these the lottery winners?
No, these are the folks that I need to finish up their application.
Has the lottery been, already been chosen?
No, it'll be July 15. And you'll receive notification in the 2 weeks following. You'll be notified by mail, so the mailing address that you gave, please do check it. They won't call, they won't email you, you'll be notified via mail.
You say now the deadline is the 28th?
Today at 5.
Okay. And then they're gonna choose on July 15th?
Yes.
So there's 2 applications, right?
Yes, if you want to get in for the full lottery, yes, there's a Moongate and then there's a separate housing authority application.
How do you find it if they're closed?
They're not closed, they're open especially for this. I've been there twice today, walking around finding people. So right up on Rico, and then the leasing office is down 313 Salinas, right across from the city building. Thoughts on the sprung shelter?
What is it? Again, is it like cots or tents? I know there's a covering, like awning or something like that.
Yeah, it's fully covered, it's fully weatherproof, it's fully enclosed, it'll be secure, and nothing's been ordered or anything, so if we're gonna do this, it's very important to talk with the people who use it, because I need to know what kind of living accommodations they want. Thank you for coming. Yeah.
It's like a big, huge, giant weatherproof tent. And then they can divide it inside. It's huge though. They use it for basketball stadiums like the Santa Cruz Warriors. The D-League team played in a basketball arena that was under a sprung shelter.
And we don't have to get a huge one. We have to figure out what the need is. Maybe we get a medium-sized one, I don't know.
Oh, it's some kind of storage.
Yeah,
Small
so,
storage, like even for your daily stuff.
yeah, so what we're proposing is some individual storage. And what I'd like to have in this, nothing's final yet, is for folks who have a lot of stuff and it's valuable, like I've seen some people have a lot of bikes and stuff, we do a one-time buyout for them and give them cash if they wanted to let go of that stuff to come into the shelter.
So básicamente lo que quiero decir es que si agarramos esto como la foto que le había enseñado la otra vez que tuvimos preguntas y respuestas con ellos, fue que él va a ser ese grande que iba a tener como 25 a 30 personas y que ya decía ella que estaba pensando de agarrar un storage system donde puedan poner sus cosas ustedes para que no las tengan perdidas, y también proponer una solución como para si ustedes tienen bicicletas que quieran poner o algo así, en una vez le compran y les dan dinero a ustedes para que ustedes usen su dinero para lo que se
Muy bien, muy bien.
Thank you. Other thoughts or questions regarding the possibility of a sprung shelter?
¿Otras preguntas?
I have a CPAP machine, so like I need, right now at the mission, they let me use it, I have a place where I can plug it in at night, and I have to wash it like twice a week. So I have a place, they let me wash it in the bathroom, and then I have to like dry the stuff out, like air dry it. So, like, yeah, I would need something like that.
You would be able to do all of that, but also if you wanted to keep your bed at the mission, that's fine too. And Ken and I spoke, and we want to work together in terms of, you know, reducing any barriers or anything that's keeping people from using the beds at the mission. So we'll be talking about that. Jackie?
I'm not sure if they asked you, but how long can you stay at the sprung shelter, and how long is the sprung shelter going to be there?
I actually don't know. We view it as a temporary thing. It's just that Salinas doesn't have enough affordable housing right now. So we need to offer a step in between. So I assume however long we need it, but it is really intended for temporary. It's more for a leg up, you know, a hand up instead of a hand out, just to, you know, give folks something so they don't have to stay on the streets. Yes.
Now, you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
La opción que están proponiendo ahorita es nada más temporalmente, no saben por cuánto tiempo tienen las personas ahí adentro, nada más están tratando de proponer una opción para que haya lugares más en donde las personas todavía no se tengan que estar moviendo en la calle, para que tengan algo, un paso a una dirección más firme en más hogares para ustedes viviendo.
Did you have something, sir?
I was just gonna ask, you're talking about, the size, which would be a medium size. So as a ballpark figure or an estimate and everything, so how many would that actually hold or place?
Yeah, so, well, one of the things we've been doing is just walking around and talking to people and just getting a sense of how many people might be interested. We think we've got about maybe 30 people that might be interested right now. And I'm getting a quote for an addition to hold up to an additional 20 people as well. And again, this is nothing that's been decided. We're exploring different options. Jackie?
So I have a question about food. So I was looking at sprung shelters in different places, and some of them have a kitchen where the clients be able to go and access and prepare their own food, or work as like a communal type of living, cooking situation. Would you have that, or would the food still be like outsourced to Dorothy's? They'll go there for their food. This just be someplace they actually just sleep and receive service?
I don't know. We're open. Dorothy's serves their meals. Yesterday I was at a meeting, and Victory Mission says they have the capacity even to increase the food that they provide for other agencies. So that might be worth exploring. I'm not sure. It's just totally open. It's sort of like if we decide to go with this, we need to sit down and sort out what's going to work the best for everybody.
So básicamente la pregunta fue una, que cuántas personas podrían estar capacitadas para que esta opción pueda tener a la gente ahí, son 25 personas. Y la segunda pregunta que hizo Jackie es que si tendrían una cocina donde ustedes podrían tener la libertad de prepararse o lo que ustedes traigan para hacerse comida ahí. Dice la señora China que no saben, todo está abierto a los comentarios y a las ideas que ustedes quieran decir, pero a fin de cuentas ellos se tienen que sentar y ver qué sería mejor para todo el grupo en la preparación.
¿Puedo hablar yo? ¿Puedo hablar?
Ya.
Yo tengo algo que decirles. Me gusta su proposición y también me gusta porque esta propia gente que dormimos en la calle, que yo también duermo en la calle, nunca he dormido, es muy feo de ser la gente pobre y humilde. Y porque es uno pobre y humilde, las trabajadoras nos humillan a uno. Yo vivía antes aquí en la Dolores en la noche y ellas nos trataban bien mal, nos dejaban lavar, nos trataban bien feo, nos corrían a la gente, nada más se enojaban, echaban la policía, había pretexto para correrlos. Yo sí quiero que pongan unas buenas trabajadoras que nos traten como son. Sus trabajos, tienen que cumplir su trabajo, no para humillarnos. Esa es una respuesta.
Okay, so she said that she really likes the proposal that you're giving, especially because of how you would stay or meet. She mentioned the shelter that was at Dorothy's prior to closing down. She was just mentioning that the workers weren't as customer friendly as they should have been and time wise, and she just wants to know that also that's what's really important is a team was to be hired for the shelter to be ready to just make sure that individuals are passionate and care for the population.
Yes, absolutely. And then you all know that the Victory Mission is going to start to take women soon.
La misión también va a empezar a tomar mujeres temporadas.
Dile que podemos hablar con su profesora para cuando haga eso, porque ellas se aprovechan de uno, porque es humilde. Queremos, yo no te digo nada de ti de ella, no estamos hablando. Que nos ayuden aquí, no nos ataquen, porque nos atacan.
I think she wants a better relationship amongst the population or the people working in organizations.
Y esa que nosotros estamos pidiendo favores a ellos, sí que ellos mandan ahí, porque nomás te miran humilde, te caes gorda y te sacan los bares.
That's very treacherous, but I don't think she would report, but homeless basically. So she just wants like probably to structure a better relationship.
No lo llaman a la policía para sacarte y uno no hace nada, porque nomás porque le caes gorda.
So we'll keep an eye to that and we'll look for any opportunities to improve that and collaborate.
Decía que hay mujeres responsables que no nos tienen duro y llamen a la policía porque uno mejor se estima y se va, porque no quiere problemas con la ley, no respeta las leyes. Yo respeto a él porque trae una placa en la mano. Yo lo respeto a todos ustedes, lo respeto.
Dice que va a ver si hay oportunidades para colaborar y mejorar lo que está sucediendo.
Yeah, to run. Is there any questions from you specifically? Anybody want to yell at me?
Where's your dad?
Oh,
Jumps are always locked.
Oh, that was a bad question. That was a bad question.
You are absolutely 100% correct. Every time I come here and I see it locked, I unlock it because it's supposed to have garbage in it, not garbage around it. But the city gets mad because they think that people from the outside of Chinatown are going to bring their garbage in.
Which
I
they
say,
do.
it really doesn't matter because if they bring their garbage in, they're going to dump it on the ground. I would rather them dump it in the can. So I will try every opportunity. I have a key to it, and I'll unlock it. You know who else has a key? Is the pastor of the church on East Lake.
Oh, great.
But he's only here late at night.
Yeah.
So, but if you see him, say, can you please open the dumpster, and he can open it. Because it's like a cat and mouse game. As soon as I pull out, the garbage company comes in and locks it. And then I unlock it, and then I go, so I'm trying. And trust me, I want 10 dumpsters down there, and I'm fighting for it. It's just, we're having a battle with the city. So.
Tina, I heard you say that the Victory Mission is going to start letting women go in, huh? So there are going to be women there to support the women who are going to be.
Thank you, Officer Carvey.
Thank you, Officer
Officers. Did you know that they are making it somebody available to assist the women? Because as far as I know, it's all men there and men that oversee the house itself.
I'm sure Ken is open, or Sammy, to discussion. I have no idea if they're hiring women or.
They are, they haven't found any yet.
Yeah, safety.
I guess I can actually answer that question. I spoke to Ken about this yesterday, and he's currently looking for 3 women to staff the side for the women. He's gonna, he has this plan already in place on how to separate them. They'll be sleeping in the chapel, and the men have to enter separately, like they have a separate entrance to their sleeping quarters. And so the women will be, what do you call it? So a house person, they'll be separate the whole time, and then they'll have separate shower times and everything. Everybody will eat together like they always do. But when it comes to sleeping together, there's, you know, measures, everything put in place to make sure you never cross paths.
Yeah. And I'm told that it's not required that you do services or praying or anything like that.
The women gonna be upstairs.
No, because some women can't physically make it upstairs, so right now they're going to start off at the bottom in the chapel, and then eventually maybe they'll get there once it becomes, you know, ADA accessible maybe.
Let's let Paula say.
Nada más la pregunta fue que si como van a empezar a dejar a las mujeres entrar a Victory Mission, Querían saber si había personal que sea mujer para poder ayudar a todas las personas porque son puros hombres masculinos. Y dice la señora Jackie que sí van a empezar a agarrar personas que son mujeres para poder ayudar a designar en cada lugar de las mujeres y los hombres cuando se van a dormir. Van a ser separados, pero a la vez de la comida pueden comer juntos.
Muy bien.
In regards to the mission, Sammy's already said that they've already got a woman that's going to be in charge. She's supposed to be coming in, and he does not know when. But he's already stated 3 or 4 times to the men in the shelter that when they come in, the way it's going to work and everything is the women are going to be in the chapel area, and then they're going to have a petition where the men are not going to be able to even see the women going back and forth to the restroom.
So the best thing might be to just talk actually to Ken and Sammy, because we're kind of, we're answering this via secondhand information, so you probably should, any questions, go to them directly. And they're very approachable, as you all know.
But now, in your meetings and everything, I have a question to ask. Has anybody said anything about the permanent warming shelter that's supposed to be built?
I do know that they're planning on keeping the current warming shelter open, and there are barriers and hurdles in terms of the shelter that's proposed to go up 855 East Laurel. So, yeah.
On this tent thing, I was kind of suggesting that you call the PGA and drop a line there, also going to take recyclable stems, recyclable fuel and everything.
Oh, thank you, Taylor Farms,
Yeah, and PGA.
PGA. Thank you.
They typically retire them after so many years.
Okay, thank you.
I have an idea, like, what I think would be good, but I'd like to see if anybody else has any feedback, because otherwise it's just me giving all my opinion.
Please share.
Well, I like how they have it at the mission right now. I think this place should have, like, you should have like a designated bed, if it's gonna be for, not just if slightly long term or something like that, you should have a designated bed.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then some storage, like where you could keep, like lock storage, maybe, or you guys just have a key, or only one other person has the key or something, but where you can keep, like maybe a week's worth of clothes or something like that. And then like a place for bikes where you can lock your bike. And then a place where you can inject, safe injecting place. I know you said that it doesn't matter if people come in under the influence or not, as long as they are respectable and not causing disruption.
Yeah, and let me make the clarification. If you come in under the influence, drunk or high, and you don't start anything with anybody, that's fine. I really doubt we're going to offer a safe injecting place inside there. I mean, we could talk about it, but I just don't think that will fly, honestly. So.
And then like a specific policy for whether you're admitting different groups, like men, women, and children, or whatever. Because like right now at the warming shelter, there's been problems with like they accommodate space for the families, and then other people getting kicked out. So like no one knows. You need to know like who's going to be able to stay there, like who's allowed to stay there, and who's not, under what conditions.
Yeah, some feedback that I've received from folks is, yeah, I like this idea and I do it, but I want to know who's going to be around me.
So básicamente él sugirió que tendrán nada más unas posiciones que puedan dejar lo que son ustedes personalmente y poderlos tener en vista para que no se pierdan lo que le pertenece a usted. Tener donde poner su bicicleta y que cada cama sea asignada a cada persona, y también querían saber si tuvieran categorías o quizás algo más organizado para saber qué tipo de personas o cuántas personas podrían venir aquí para que no se queden esperando afuera como cuando lo hacen con diferentes shelters, para que ustedes sepan si tienen una posición y qué no pueden entrar ahí. Dijo la señora lo que clarificó, porque si estás bajo la influencia de alcohol o drogas puedes venir adentro, pero mientras no hagas no hagas mal para los demás cuando gritando lo que sea una escena así.
Other comments or questions regarding the Scrum shelter or housing?
Yeah, smoking, like, where is there gonna be smoking allowed? Because a lot of people smoke out here.
That's something like we can figure out. I mean, we're totally open to sitting down with whoever's
Pues
going to
también
use the shelter,
explicación ahí,
figuring out what
una pequeña
works.
explicación.
Sorry. She wanted a question.
Oh, okay. I just said that we're open to sitting down and talking about what works.
El señor también propuso a lo mejor una opción para los que fuman cigarros, pero dice que están dispuestos a pensar y a ver, pero no le garantiza nada, pero están dispuestos a ir y tratar de figurar si se puede hacer eso. ¿Tenías una propuesta?
No, que digo que si no, ¿qué vas a ocupar de identificación, papeles o requisitos o aplicar o algo así?
Oh, okay. So she wanted to know if there was any type, what like requirements was there for, did you need to bring your ID or any of that, was any of that figured out if you were to want to enter to the shelter?
We haven't figured out.
Tal vez más
So,
no la
yeah.
platicado.
But it will be low
Digo,
barrier.
pero yo también mis papeles porque los estamos guardando.
Pero dice que no se preocupe, no va a ser algo como muy difícil para que ustedes no puedan entrar. Vamos a tratar de meter a las más personas y de sacarlas.
Digo que me da gusto lo que está haciendo con la gente humilde y que hace el estado de...
Oh, yes, you're very welcome. Wes?
If you are thinking about 30 or maybe 50 people, there's like 250 people out here. What are we planning? Are we having another location for a sprung shelter or multiple locations?
So I appreciate that question, and I know that it still leaves some without. With the cash funding that's coming in, we have an opportunity for a creative, innovative pilot project that we can partner together, but we don't have enough to house like 200 people in a sprung shelter.
So since that's not an option, can people who have signed up for the application for Moongate or signed up for cars, can they get some kind of pass of like, they're trying to get help and the only help that's available is not really available? So the best we can do is let you stay somewhere. I mean, especially with all the parks being citing arrestable July 10 and forward. You know, I mean, how is the city going to cope with the 2,000, 3,000 people outside within the city limits?
Yeah, I know. I honestly don't know. I don't have anything that's substantial and solid to say other than the city's looking at this and we're talking with providers. There's been a lot of good ideas. Some of the things that are suggested to take more time, like modular homes or tiny homes set up, and these things take time. So I really don't know at this point. Like, we're going to do our best to utilize the shelter beds that we have and figure out what to bring in for an option. We're even going to private foundations. If I have enough signatures of people that would want to use a sprung shelter, maybe we could go to a private foundation for the difference. That doesn't guarantee anything, but I'm willing to try. I just know with the cash funds, the funds that I'll be overseeing, they're for a pilot, which is usually a smaller start, and if that's successful, then you apply for more.
So any kind of pass or certificate that you could give out to people who have signed up, and then that way, you know, they can get passed over from getting tickets or being told they have to leave, or?
So a few people have mentioned that. You're not the first person. I unfortunately don't have the authority to say whether or not we can do that right now.
Okay, but have you made that suggestion, I guess, to the city manager?
That suggestion has been made,
Thank you.
So,
yes.
and I don't,
I can go for it.
Okay.
it's just, I heard that they were talking about it at Dorothy's before, but also the possibility of like people bringing pets. You know, like, I mean, I understand that.
That has been spoken of.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and not in reference to Dorothy's, this has been spoken of in reference to what we need to do to reduce the barriers and fill the beds that we do have. Some thoughts are, and these are thoughts, to install a small kennel that folks can kennel their dogs overnight. I've also been told that a lot of people like to sleep with their dogs. So maybe some people would kennel their dogs, I don't know. But the shelter, we want to be able to offer pets to come in. So maybe if we did this front shelter, maybe we do the back end for people with pets or something. It's totally talkable, we're open.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have a suggestion. You know, Jason made a good point and everything in the shelters. And I'm a smoker, so I'm gonna say this outright and everything, that it should be mandatory not to be smoking around when they do that and everything, because there's others and everything that do not smoke. And that could be offensive and everything else. Now, I mean, if you have to walk off the property and go somewhere and smoke and everything else, that would be better than smoking around where everybody else is.
I agree.
O sea, más o menos, yo he hablado sobre el señor anteriormente, lo que estaba platicando es que cuántas personas van a poder ingresar a la adopción que tienen aquí presente, pero lo que el señor me ha preguntado es que por qué no hacen uno más grande que pueda ayudarle a más gente, porque tenemos mucha gente aquí. Y lo que mencionó ella desde hace poquito fue que tienen cierto dinero para poder usarlo y quieren empezar con algo chiquito para abrir oportunidades más grandes para poder hacerlo y también durar menos tiempo que las otras opciones que han tenido. Lo que el señor mencionó ahorita es que nada más está desacuerdo con tener algo más cercano para fumar, porque hay muchas familias que no, o personas que no fuman y les pueden hacer mal para su salud de ellos.
Está bien que no fumen porque contaminan, que fumen afuera. Pero también me gustaría ayudar a mucha gente porque son como 100 gentes en la calle y 25 no va a ayudar a nada.
So one she said that she agrees with Ken as far as like smoking maybe a little bit further out, but don't smoke. And second, she just was wondering, no, she was maybe saying that perhaps something that would target a bigger population would be less, but I also had explained to her that you had mentioned that you wanted to start small to get bigger opportunities.
Yes, yes. Mary's here from Whole Person Care. Mary, did you want to say anything about Whole Person Care?
Other than the fact that we are still accepting, we have till 5 o'clock to turn in a whole bunch of packages, as you know, Tina. My team has been very busy, and we have not been opening up any new referrals for that reason, because we had to meet this deadline. But we're still taking referrals. Hi, Mr. Cox, for Whole Person Care. And Whole Person Care, I don't know if most of you are aware of it, but it's a pilot program, 5-year pilot program. We're into almost our 4th year now, and we try to get in touch with the people who are most vulnerable, people who have multi-chronic illness problems, people who need to be hooked up with mental health, people who need help with substance abuse, and we assist with other agencies in trying to get affordable housing. Unfortunately, with the vouchers and that they're not giving out right now, they're kind of on hold. However, we're still taking the paperwork. We got kind of a backlog right now because of the work on Moongate and Ginseng Oaks. But feel free to, I passed out a bunch of paperwork to, I think his name is Sam, over at the Victory Mission. I think that's his name. So he has some. I don't know if Jacqueline has any, but if you fill those out, our staff, the nurses that work at the health department, they come over here frequently, and they can pick those up, and we can try to fit you into the system to see if you meet the criteria. Some of you we already have your names. I see some familiar faces, and some of you don't. So that's another option. We find housing all over Monterey County, provided we can get landlords that are willing to take people with these vouchers. That's a big problem too. So we're working really hard. It is a big problem. It seems like it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But we're doing the best we can. So the health department is another avenue. There's actually the whole social care program. I don't know if you have information here in this office. You do? Okay, and we'll do the best we can to get you in there.
So, básicamente lo que la señora está diciendo es que el Departamento de Salud, que es por el programa Autism Care, también es una opción para poderles ayudar a buscar hogares y servicios y programas que ustedes puedan ocupar. También se enfocan en ayudar a las personas que ocupan ayuda con sustancias, abuso de sustancia, problemas mentalmente y salud físicamente. Las personas más vulnerables son las personas que necesitan ayudar y referir a los programas o servicios que sean adecuados a lo que ocupan ellos.
And you can also let them know that our staff is responsible for transportation for those that can't get back and forth to their doctor's appointments, to mental health appointments, and that sort of thing. And there's a lot of housing available down south, Greenfield, Soledad, and beyond. But again, we have to get vouchers so that we can get to those places and get people in those places.
El proceso también se requiere el voucher, que significa para las poblaciones específicamente que no tienen hogares. También cuando recibes las ayudas de este programa, también te ayudan con transportaciones a las citas que ocupes. Y también quería decirles que hay mucho vivienda al sur, como Greenfield, Soledad y todo para abajo. Pero cuando uno recibe el voucher, se puede esas serían las opciones también.
Yes, this one in the back.
Hi, my name is Phyllis Katz. I'm an attorney at California Rural Legal Assistance. I wanted to ask, is your program or is there a program represented here that's helping people get onto general assistance and then transition onto Social Security?
We do that as well.
So you're doing that?
And we
So
do it,
that's, okay.
There's more help needed with that down here.
Okay, so that's a really important option for people who do have either life-threatening health conditions or permanent disabilities in order to secure some stable income. It's to make sure you go through that process.
I'm sorry, there's also a Social Security outreach worker that comes to the health center. Well, no, she goes to Dorothy.
Yeah,
right?
Dorothy's on-
On what days?
It's on Tuesdays at 10.
Tuesdays at 10. They have an actual, Social Security person that's stationed at Dorothy's Tuesdays at 10 to help you fill out your.
That's the first Tuesday and the third Tuesday of every month. She's there 10 to 11.
What's her name?
Her name is Carolyn Cook.
Yeah.
I also want to take a minute to thank Dorothy's today for sending Paula to interpret, and I believe that Dorothy's provided the food for us here today, so thanks to them.
We did.
They also have over at the health center on Wednesdays, I don't know if they still have it now with the different time schedule. You have to find out, but over at the health center on Wednesdays, they did have somebody from social services that would come in.
At 12. Yes, you're correct.
So my question is, why the community just don't find an area for them? That's all we're asking for, an area.
Why don't the community
So, I
find
mean,
a space?
it would actually defeat all this looking for and trying to resolve and, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right
As
to
far as
us.
for the city, things like that are actually decided at a much higher level, and I do know that they're watching right now, things going on with the Boise decision. I know they're watching what's going on in Santa Cruz. So that is, something that what we can do is take our feedback and our comments and say what is needed and wanted. But those things are actually decided at a very high level in terms of designating an area or something like that.
Won't we fund it already for that?
For designating an area? No.
La pregunta de la señora era por qué no nada más les buscan un lugar donde ustedes puedan ser y sin problemas, pero dice la señora que es un problema a nivel más alto que decide qué lugares se designan a qué población y en qué lugares. Y ellos no tienen que encontrar sobre eso, pero estamos buscando diferentes oportunidades y opciones para tratarles de darle algo mejor a ustedes para que no estén en las situaciones que están viviendo.
I think if you really want to help, just saying that it's up to the city manager is not going to be enough, because people are going to get arrested and everything's getting took, and we really need to slap those guys into waking up and realizing that they're hurting people. I mean, if you really want to help, I think you need to be more confrontational rather than submissive.
Thank you for that advice. I don't know if confrontational will work, but I'll tell you that I will do my best. That feels right to me to advocate. From what I hear people want down here. So.
Dice que va a tratar de hacer lo mejor para representarlos a usted, no que ella pueda hacerlo como que ella. Es lo que está tratando de hacer. Oh, él dijo que les dieron una cachetada para que se liberaran todos de la ciudad. Y
Yo sé,
trataran de entender.
si hubiera fuera lo suficiente, todos debemos de cachetear para que se fuera.
¿Verdad?
Sí. La única solución que yo tengo es que hay muchas personas que no tienen medical completo y al día de nosotros aquí de nada sirve porque nos dan medicinas muy caras y no las podemos comprar, entonces es que tiene que haber un programa para que le den medicinas a la gente que ocupe.
She also said very programs that help more with medication.
Programs for medication,
Because she said
pharmacy access?
maybe not access to it, but as far as some people don't have programs in Medicare or they got it, they're not, so they just.
Y yo tengo una medicina que cuesta $350.
She said she was like.
Tengo una medicina que cuesta $350 en la farmacia y no la puedo sacar porque no tengo medical completo. Y por eso es que sigo mala y sigo mala.
Okay. Okay. This is the first I've heard of that. Okay,
Dice que es la
yes.
primera vez que hay eso, pero la otra vez era algo como.
Y ahí tengo medicina, está estancada, no lo tengo para sacar. 350 está la medicina ahí está. Y no me puedo curar, me tapo la cara. Pero no tengo fe en verla.
That's why she covers her face. It's just her medical insurance.
Es porque la cara me... Pero está muy cara la medicina.
Dice que vamos a ver qué nos podemos sacar, porque hablamos después, pero sí puede quitar ese lado para
Ok, gracias.
Yeah. I think we want to talk with Mary about that too. We'll do that.
Sounds good.
So we have about 7 minutes left. Are there other questions, thoughts, feedback, comments?
Do you have any translation services? Also, like the hours, like if you have it to where if people can't be there all day, that they can, maybe have more product, like they don't have to leave until like 8 or 9. They don't have to, they don't have to get there like until maybe 8 or 9 at night. And then,
Are you talking about for the sprung shelter idea? Okay.
yeah, and then this is just stuff that, like from my experience being in the shelter, I think would make makes a difference. I've seen some of it be implemented at the mission. But the other thing is like, there's people that are sick that are getting out of the hospital and stuff, and like I realize like I'm trying to do a lot of things at once, but a place where they can kind of like maybe stay if they're deemed suitable and able to take care of themselves in the shelter, like a place where they can stay during the daytime, because some of them are too sick to really like get out and do stuff. And right now, with the shelters available, that's not really an option. Like most of the time we get, there's always like, well, at the Victory Mission, we have to leave the door at 7:30, and even people that are sick, very few of them actually do they let them stay there during the day to try to, and so you spend a couple hours outside every day.
So I hear you, and I think that the goal with this would be to have it open during the day, and to have it open all the time. Just the thing is, what stipulates that is how much funding we get.
Dice que también una opción sería como las personas que están malos, que cuando por ejemplo que se quedan en el shelter, les piden que se levanten temprano a la comunidad de las demás personas, pero cuando uno está enfermo y no puede moverse mucho, es muy difícil para las personas poder hacer eso. Entonces la opción que ella está diciendo, que es lo que están viendo, es que si va a ser esta una opción, lo querría tener abierto todo el día para que no tengan que presionar a las personas que estén malas o tengan salud médicas para poder hacer eso. Pero todo va dependiendo de cuánto dinero tenga suficiente después de todo eso y si hay dinero para hacer eso.
Yo sufro de los discos y a veces no me puedo levantar, otros días que no me puedo levantar, y a la gente que se la van a sacar para afuera y no se van a acostar en la calle y se miran nomás en la calle.
So, eso es lo que ha mencionado el señor, pero por eso digo que a lo mejor que la opción va a ser tratar de tener abiertos la día y noche para que las personas que tengan situaciones o problemas médicos así no se tengan que estar preocupando y salir a la calle como ustedes están en la calle cuando está ahí. So her question was just to say, let's say, like, you know, people are sick or
Sí, pero sí, pero no lo hagan, pues,
get out
prometen mucho, no comen nada.
because they need to be out of service.
Nomás prometen, pues, no comen. Nomás agarran la caja de agua, ¿eh?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if we do this and we do it, all this stuff we can sort out. We would rely heavily on the opinions of nurses, whole person care, the health department, the hospitals, in terms of stuff like this. There would be a time to put all this into the mix and make decisions.
Cuando se organizaría todo, cuando sí sigue con el proceso, tendría muchos departamentos como los hospitales, enfermeras, de diferentes programas y servicios para poder acomodar y tratar de saber su opinión sobre ciertas cosas para que sean con ustedes y no tengan que estar sufriendo o poner en una situación otra vez así.
I have one last question. So to me, it seems like, I know I'm really for this idea of a scrum shelter. I think it's the best solution to temporary fix of what we can do right now. So I'm interested to see how many of you are interested in the scrum shelter.
And just take this as you're interested. Don't take it that this is happening, because nothing's been
I just
decided.
want to let her know. if
We
you're
want to
interested.
find out what people will do.
Y quiere saber quién estaría interesado en la opción que han tratado, que les hemos estado explicando hoy.
So if you're interested, just
Si
wave your,
está interesado en la
Yeah,
opción,
raise your
levante la mano
so we can see.
para que podamos ver a las personas.
Yay!
So the housing vote type, the two most popular from, what was it, last week, Jackie? Last week, was the single family home. So that's a big American dream. And if you were born probably in the 70s or 80s up, it's almost a lie right now. So we appreciate that people wanted that as their first choice. I want that, you know? But the next tied for that was the sprung shelter, so it looks like people are looking for something to get a leg up with. The affordable housing was 18 votes. The live work got good number of votes. So did the tiny home, micro home, modular home. But we'll keep doing this vote, yeah.
You're saying sprung shelters and SPUNG, is that what you said?
Sprung, yes, the name of the company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, it looks like that tent that drawing that Officer Carvey, just think of it as an airplane hangar,
Okay.
glider, something like that. attached to it.
Smaller scale.
Yes, way smaller.
It's like a area.
Like this.
Yeah.
It's nice. I can show you pictures later on if you guys are interested.
I'll show pictures and all that stuff
Okay.
if I get a sense more that this looks like it's happening, because I don't want to lead anybody on.
Okay, sorry about that. I will not be showing pictures.
All right, thank you everybody for coming. I hope to see you again next month. And if you see me walking around, feel free to stop me and ask me questions. I'm open